Hey, good evening, everyone. Or I guess I should rather say afternoon. It's cloudy here in North Carolina today, so it looks like evening. Uh, Another episode of Common Sense Commentary with your host Eric Bryant and Earl Tucker. If you're watching us on your phone or another smart device or iPad or even on your TV or your computer, thank you for inviting us to share the screen and be a part of your day. We hope you've caught some of the other episodes. We were supposed to have a special guest today, but unfortunately, it looks like he was having some technical difficulties. So Earl and I were talking, and we're like, "Hey, we haven't done a new episode in a few days. Still lots to talk about, so we decided to go ahead uh, and do what we do: talk about current events and some of the things going on in the news cycle right now, which again, there's just so much of it going on. Um, Earl, I mean, you've seen some of this stuff too. I mean, did you catch the protest over the weekend nationwide?
I did. I was under the impression it was just in some of the major cities, man. But you enlightened me.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I didn't realize that it was some of that stuff was going on right there in your backyard, man.
yeah,
I,
it
I
was.
still don't understand it, but I guess just paid agitators, I guess.
Yeah, and I think some in our area. I don't want to necessarily say that somebody spent money sending them to my part of North Carolina, but I can tell you, knowing a lot of the folks in my community and being a part of the community, the pictures I saw circulating on social media, there's a lot of folks I didn't recognize, and the one thing I noticed in common was they seem to be boomers, older. Some folks even up there in age that look like they were skipping Jello hour at the nursing home. um, not being mean to anybody, but some, they look like they were one step
I
away from
see.
assisted living. But so I noticed that, and there was two things I noticed about the signage. Uh, they had signs and poster boards and things of that nature. And one of the things I noticed was the signage mirrors a lot of the signage that you see nationwide. A lot of the posters that people are holding up, hands off, whatever. And it looks like it's, those bigger protests I know are being funded by Indivisible, which is a group, and you can go on their website. I think they're even on X. Believe it or not, I mean, I think they have a page on X, which is crazy. They hate Elon Musk, but they're
Using
using
his
his
platform for it.
platform. You
Spread the
can't make this
word. Boy, you
stuff
can't
up.
make this
I
up.
mean, you really
No.
can't. It's like, Earl, I'm going to stab you. Let me borrow your knife. I mean, it's just it's
Same difference.
insane. I mean,
God damn.
oh my gosh, the day and age we live in right now. But some of the homemade signs I saw we're talking about hands off the Appalachian Trail, and it's like, okay, I don't see everything that Elon and POTUS puts out, but I'm pretty sure nobody mentioned about anything to do with some of the hiking trails and that. I mean, it again, mind blowing. I mean, I think some of these people are just trying to come up with something just to be upset about because they don't
I guess.
understand what's going on. So it's like,
I
I want to
guess. Yeah.
protest, I want to yell and scream, so I'll just make up some stuff. So it's crazy. It was crazy seeing, and and the thing is, our, where I live, especially in North Carolina, is red as my shirt. The majority of the folks that live here vote Republican, except for like around Asheville. There's a lot of liberals around Asheville, Charlotte, and Raleigh. But I
Hmm.
always joke and I say the nice thing is that we keep them there so we have the rest of the state to ourselves. So we got the liberals in three spots. We know where they're at, but then they branch out. But
Got it.
a lot of the people I saw in these protests, though, they weren't local folks. I had people that I know report to me that some of them were from Raleigh. Then they saw the different license plates and things of that nature. Some were from Georgia and South Carolina. So it's interesting that people drive to protest, but the amount of misinformation and the one thing I've noticed in common with reporters that are going out in the wild and they're documenting this and they're talking to these folks, the one thing is they're very, very skewed and misinformed about what's going on and the facts. There was an instance, and I shared this with you right before we went on. There was a college kid, and I forget what protest that it was at, but it was this weekend, and long and short, he had a sign talking about fascism, and the reporter asked him what it was, and he couldn't give an answer. And he had a buddy come up, and he kind of gave an answer, but it still wasn't it. And he went off the rails like an Amtrak train. And then you've got this guy, and he's like, "Well, I saw a bunch of people hanging out here, so I thought it would be cool to come hang out." And he's like, "They gave me a sign over there for free." I mean, it's like Cheech and Chong, it's like Tommy Chong. He's like, "Well, they gave me a sign for free, man." So they give him this sign, and he's like, "Oh, and here's a paper." And the reporter's like, "Can I have the paper?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." Which is all the talking points and the chants and all the stuff. And there's like bizarre stuff on this. I don't know if you've seen as much of it as I have. I'm sure a lot of our audience has. But one of the interesting things about it is they tell you bring a facial covering, wear a mask so you can't be identified. If you can help it, don't bring your cell phone because so you can't be tracked. Because I think that happened with the AOC Bernie Sanders rally a couple of weeks ago out in Colorado. I didn't know we had this technology, but apparently you can ping the phones of the people that are out, and you can tell where they're from. And there was a huge percentage of folks that were not even from that area. So that was interesting too. So it leads you to believe that maybe some of these people are paid protesters, or as you say, agitators. And it's true, because there's even on X, there's even videos with reporters and bystanders talking to some of these people, and they admit that they're paid. I mean, I've seen a couple of videos for certain where they admit that they're paid, and they'll get there at like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and then once the clock strikes 12, they're done. So it's almost like having a job, and it's like lunchtime, clock out.
No shame, man. No shame.
And it's weird. But back to the paper, they tell you to bring a facial covering, cover yourself up, wear like solid clothing, solid colored clothing. They even said if you have an attorney, write your attorney's phone number on your arm. If you have any allergies or medical conditions, write it on this arm. But keep yourself covered. But that's in case you're arrested, or in case you get hurt protesting. So my thing is, so if these are supposed to be peaceful protests, like the left keeps saying they are, then why do you got to mark yourself up like you're at a tattoo gallery with an attorney and what you're allergic to? I mean, it's mind blowing. I mean, and guys, Biden's gone, Fauci's gone. Enough with the mask. I mean, unless you're going to go join Hamas, be done with it. I mean, I mean, my idea of a peaceful protest, if you and I go to the grocery store and somebody insults us and we have a bad experience, and we talk to people in our neighborhood, and then we're like, you know what, we're going to go down and we're going to picket, we're going to boycott for a couple of hours, Friday. Well, okay, here we are, we got our signs. Yeah, I mean, we're not going to vandalize charging stations and other people's automobiles. And I mean, I've said it before, but the folks that we're talking about, you know, uh, the environment and global warming and all, and loved Elon Musk are now his worst. It's like Two-Face and Batman. They like Elon here, but now they're like, oh, he's terrible. I mean, it's just, I mean, what says you to that?
Man, it's like guys on this side just keeps getting worse and worse. There's no code of ethics. There's no goals to. They're not looking for any goals to reach. Uh, they don't want to be happy about anything. They don't want to even know what the president is doing. Know what Elon Musk do. They shut their head and go like this, la 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 la.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they don't want to hear none of that shit. It's all gotta be. It's all gotta be negative, and I gotta be mad at you. They don't want to get along with nobody. It's all ruckus and fucking freaking just all kind of just mess going on, man.
And these are the same
It's
folks
terrible.
riding. And sorry to cut you off, but these are the same folks riding around with a coexist sticker on the back of their vehicle.
Yeah, yeah. You can't. It's. I don't. I just laugh now, man. I can't even understand what are we doing. What are we doing? Like,
These people out protesting don't know what they're
they
doing.
don't know what
I mean, just because a bunch of people are hanging out
so
doesn't mean it's a good idea to go get a free sign. And it's nonsense. It really is. So so there was all
from
that
a
going on.
productive member.
Yeah, I mean, there's all that going on, and I think people on the right are looking at it like, okay, the left ever since 20 was all J6, 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 J6. And the funny thing is now there's still, if you say anything about the left and the protests, they're like, well, what about J6, J6, J6? And it's like,
Oh,
you guys, we're still trying to figure out what happened with Ashley Babbitt. I mean, that girl lost her life. And I mean, again, those folks shouldn't have been there. But if you look at the videos, they weren't discouraged. There's police and security moving barricades and letting people go on through. So it's not like the Alamo, where it's not like where you've got Mexicans storming the fort to kill Sam Bowie and Davy Crockett. I mean, you got, people just walking on in because they're let in, and you got Nancy Pelosi saying on video that her daughter shot, that it was her fault because she refused like 2 or 3 different times President Trump's insistence on, hey, probably need some extra security. Probably a good idea, Nancy. And nope. I mean, so the more I think about it, it's almost like she wanted that to happen,
yeah.
and it did, and now they're using it against Trump and
Now I got some
Republicans.
fuel. Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, that's sad.
It's
Out
almost
of
like they're setting up for failure with it. Yep.
yeah, yeah, it's so bad, man. You are trying to, you know, self self crash out basically for the for the greater good of your political side at the expense of somebody else. That's scary. That's a scary combination.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
Man, they'll use any and everybody, man, to get what they want, man. And it doesn't matter who it is, what it is. They will turn on you in a New York minute. Uh, it's scary, man. They guys, they won't stop. They don't have. There's no line. There's no line at all.
yeah. Well,
You know what I mean?
that's true. All in the name of socialism. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. We're learning about Karl Marx in class today, man.
well, it's like this. It's like, so Earl, if I don't work and I haven't been employed in a couple of years, and you're a millionaire, there's a large portion of the left that wants to take your money and redistribute it, even though you worked hard for it. I didn't do anything but socialism.
You want my money? You want mine?
Yeah, I mean, so how's that? How's that make sense? I mean, it's hasn't worked so well in several other countries over the course of history. So
Yeah.
why do these folks, like Bernie Sanders, and it's like, what makes you think this is a good idea? I mean,
Hmm.
it's like it's like a drug company, like Pfizer or someone. They're running all these tests on a certain medication. You know what? If you've been testing this thing out and trials, field trials for 4 or 5 years, and the results aren't there, probably not a good idea to take it to market. And I mean, so that's kind of where I'm at with socialism, and especially with our country, because we have so many red-blooded, hardworking Americans that go to work every day. They don't have time to go out and protest, because it looks cool. So you've got these people, but they want to take the hardworking person that got out of bed and goes and provides for his family every day, and redistribute the wealth. And they want an even playing field. And it's mind blowing. It's a failed experiment. I think a lot of people, see through that. Sane, right minded people see through that. But we were talking earlier too. So, what was going on with the kid? I didn't catch a lot of it. I think you were in more tune. The kids, the one stabbed the other kid. What's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
story with that? What do you know about that?
So what I've seen with that is, it was just this past Wednesday. It was in Frisco, Texas, right outside of Dallas. It was at a high school, a track meet going on, and the one kid, I guess he was sitting in the area of the other school or whatnot, and what I got out of it is they asked him, "Hey man, um, you need to leave. You know, this is our area or whatever." And I think he was like, "No, I'm not doing that. You're gonna make me," or something like that. And I believe what happened was, I don't remember the other kid's name, but he put his hand on him. Maybe was like, "Hey man, come on, like this is our area," and that was good enough for old boy to pull out his knife out of his book bag and delete him right then and there, stabbed him in the heart, which is vile, it's disgusting. And, I mean, it's good and bad, man. I'm not even gonna go to look at the. A lot of people are trying to make this a racial issue, though, saying that oh he put his hands on him, blah 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 blah. I'm sitting here like I'll probably get called names for saying what I'm saying now. But that's absolutely disgusting. It
Yeah.
disgusts me, man. That I was looking on X, looking on X right now, and GoFundMe. Well, it's not called GoFundMe. This is called Give, Send, Go. Never heard of this one. You ever heard of
Yeah.
that, Russ?
No.
Give, Send, Go. Okay, whatever the hell that is. Uh,
Sounds
they
like girls I knew back in the day.
there you go. Yeah, yeah, something like that. Uh, anyhow, he has enough. This kid's name is Carmelo Anthony, with a K instead of a C. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna get into that, man. We can go. That'll be another 10, 15 minutes. But anyhow, this kid Carmelo, uh, they set a goal of $200,000 for him, and they've raised $163,000 for
Wow.
this guy, the killer.
That's
If that's not backwards, if that's not a backwards community, I don't know what is, man. I'm not down with that. I
well.
don't
It's like
care what nobody say.
it's like the kid that shot the healthcare the insurance president. What's his name? Luigi Mangione. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
raised all kinds of money, and
He
there's
raised
like
all kind of
signs
money.
and stuff free him. I mean, and it's like
Free him. Free him. Yeah.
I mean, and the weird thing is, so you had the unfortunate incident that you're talking about, Mangione. All right, you
Hmm.
got the wacky Judge Boasberg that looks like Lurch from the Addams Family,
Yeah,
wanting
yeah, yeah,
to wanting to bring the people back, the
yeah.
Tren de Aragua
All that.
and MS. They wanted to bring these people that came illegally, that are
Crazy.
gang members and killers. Let's no,
It's,
because you didn't do this document right, so let's bring them back. No, they shouldn't have been here in the first place.
yeah,
We've already wasted time and resources rounding them up, getting them on a plane, getting them, over to El Salvador, and then so you want us to waste even more money on illegals to bring them back? Yeah, where I mean, it's just
backwards.
it it it,
Backwards,
it,
man.
it is, and then you've got people sympathizing with Hamas. A lot of
Yeah.
folks on the left won't denounce Hamas as a terrorist organization. I mean, are we in the twilight zone here? I mean, what do you think?
You would think, yeah, it looks like that's what it seems like. It seems like that was kind of what the Twilight Zone was, man. I remember I used to love that show, by the way. But
I think we probably
that
have to
seems
explain
like
that for the younger viewers. They don't know what we're talking about.
yeah, younger viewers aren't going to be there. We'll get you guys right, I promise.
Google it,
Uh,
guys.
yeah, but yeah, it feels like when the Twilight Zone, man. It's like what's bad is good, and what's good is bad. It's
Yes.
it really. I'm looking at some of this stuff, and I'm sitting here like, no, I'm not. I'm a I call myself a C student. I'm not a brains scientist, man. I'm not a rocket scientist or nothing, but some of this stuff is just off, man. I just don't understand. Going back to Carmelo, how did he raise 163? Who's donating to this
Well, got a pretty good idea.
guy? I do too. It's just,
Mm-mm-mm.
man. I just don't get it, man. I'm sitting here like, man, I know I'm in the minority of this probably, but am I crazy? Is something wrong with me? I mean,
Well,
man,
I
if
mean,
it is, let me know.
and it just hasn't started. This is a sensitive subject for a lot of people, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. So George Floyd, okay, remember that? Remember that? You know, here just a few
Okay.
years ago. Um,
Hmm.
as a disclaimer, the police involved, I do think obviously one or two were excessive, you
Yes.
know, but I think at the time I equate it to this because I talked to members of local law enforcement here shortly after this happened, and I was like, what would happen if you were in that position? And they said, well, it's pretty easy. You got some priors, warrants, a history of drug abuse. When you don't know what you're going to encounter, so you have to think about your safety and the
Yeah.
safety of your partners and anybody around civilians. So if you have to use a little force, you can. Now, do I think they went overboard? Sure. Just like
Yeah.
years ago, Rodney King. Yes, way overboard.
Yeah. Yeah. For
But
sure. For sure.
but these people came out and pretty much portrayed this man as a saint when that was the furthest thing from the truth, and
Yeah.
pretty much burn up a whole damn city. But because of this and justice.
Yeah.
Now, when the hell has burning anything up been in the name of justice? I mean, can anybody show me where we're burning down a building or a Tesla? Where how how is that in the name of justice? I mean, it sounds like the opposite. I think like vandalism.
Yeah, it is. All you're doing is you are trashing your communities. You're trashing the small businesses. A lot of these small businesses don't got insurance for
Right,
some of
right.
this stuff to go down. So you're killing their dreams that they've sweat, put their hard work and tears into. Um, so you got that going on. Also, man, I'm just gonna put it out there, man. Going back on the George Floyd issue, uh, we made statues of this guy, man.
Yeah.
We made statues of this guy. And I'm call me what you want, whatever. Like I said, I don't care, man. Uh, that was utterly ridiculous, bro. I agree that Derek Chauvin should be behind bars. I agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Uh, but we're trying to make this guy a saint. With That's crazy, man. I've gotten into debates about that, and people thought I was crazy. Oh, what are you talking about? Sitting here like, what do you mean? What am I talking about, dog? Like, are we looking at the same thing? Like, okay, I'm not discussing this with you, man. This is insane. What we're talking about.
I mean, where's
This
Rodney
guy,
King's statue at?
I
Rodney didn't get one,
much
right?
rather I, he did. I much rather him have one. Goodness gracious, man. Yeah, I mean, at least I think he was a drug addict or something at one time. He wasn't harming people, harming his own people.
Yeah.
That's what George Floyd does. He was harming his own people.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It wasn't like
harming his own.
it wasn't like it was his first rodeo with this in law enforcement. I mean, there
Nope.
were several things
Yeah.
that had happened between him and law enforcement and the
Oh
justice
yeah.
system. I mean,
Rap
there were
sheet.
priors. I mean, he was
There
not
were.
Citizen of the Year. He was not going to win that award.
No, not even close, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you got with that side though. That's what you got, man. Taking defunding police officers, make the neighborhoods less safe. That's
Well,
that's what
well,
you.
anything that the left can grab onto that they think, especially now, that will give them some traction because they keep slipping and slipping and slipping. So anything that comes up that they think is buzzworthy or will let them yell out even louder, will give them even more of a voice, they're on it. I mean, that's the thing. The
Don't
left is
matter.
trying to find anything they can right now to give them some traction because they have slipped so far.
Give you an example. My favorite gal, Jasmine Crockett, uh, going. what did she say? It was on the Breakfast Club. I think I seen a clip. Uh, she was had something to say about Byron Donalds having a white wife that he's been
I
married with
saw that.
for 20 years. I'm sitting here like, wow, really? You don't got nothing. You know, he came back was just like, yeah, yeah, she can do that. She knows where to find me. Don't talk about my wife. Come on.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but Jasmine Crockett was a big fan and supporter of Kamala Harris.
Yes, I know where you're
Earl,
going.
in case the audience doesn't know, what type of person is Kamala Harris married to?
Jewish white man. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
so how does that argument even hold water?
But that's
Poor old
okay.
Byron,
Yeah,
who's an amazing guy, who's a very intelligent
yeah.
guy. So he's been married for over 2 decades to the same lady, which in itself is a
Same
feat.
lady.
In this day and age, it
I'm
don't matter
trying.
what color you are.
Listen,
If you're married for more than 20 years, you give the man a trophy. Okay,
all the
give
kids,
him a trophy.
all the kids are they're the parents of their kids. All that, man.
Yeah, yeah. And I
The
mean, I've
right,
seen pictures.
everything the right way.
They're
A
a
beautiful
nice
family.
looking family. It's a nice looking family. Okay,
Yeah,
and then you've got Kamala and Doug, and then it come out last year that the kid that Doug was married before, but had a fling with a nanny or something. That's where the kid is from, right?
yeah. I believe so. I believe I
But
seen something about that.
yeah, I mean, I could have the details wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was something similar. It
Yeah.
wasn't the Brady Bunch. Everybody's living together happy. There was a reason for
No, it
the
was
divorce,
some
and
mess.
then
Yep. Yeah.
so
Infidelity.
so we're going to attack the person that has a nice family that's never been in trouble, kind of like the Trumps. You ever heard anything
Yeah.
bad about the Trump kids? Have they ever been on the cover of the National Enquirer or
No,
People
no,
magazine because they had an affair with a nanny? I mean, no,
nothing
no.
bad. No,
Donald's kids,
all
they're all
those
well
kids
polished.
just
His
squared away,
granddaughter is
man.
a good young golfer. Um,
Hmm.
they're all well spoken. They're all educated.
Yeah, yeah,
They all
all
do a
of them.
lot of charitable events.
Hmm.
Um, they're all polished, kind of like Byron and his family.
Yeah,
But then you got the second gentleman with the nanny. But then Jasmine is like, no, this guy and his white wife.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
And
So
she's never been married. Of course, she's against the nuclear family being on that side. Uh, it's just wild to me that we're making fun of doing things the right way. And you're gonna poke at his white wife,
it's good. It's
who
good.
he's
Yeah.
been
Yeah.
married to for 20 years,
Yeah.
like got it all together, and they want to poke at that because they're not for. I mean, their agenda, they're not for that, man. They're not for that. What is every time I hear them talk, especially their biggest leaders, is about anything but a nuclear family.
Yeah.
It's all about,
And
I'm not got nothing against the LGBT or trans and all that stuff. Everybody do what you do. Okay,
yeah, right.
that's not what I'm advocating, but that they're not saying anything about nothing else. They're not talking, they're not talking about, man, let's get the families back together and let's start, start building from within. Start from the home. It's always these special groups that they're focusing on. And that, to me, I'm sitting here like, man, that's crazy. We gotta
Because that's how
focus
you
on the
can make
core.
it. You can make it issue. You can. They're
Yeah, yeah.
making it an issue. They're manufacturing a issue, Earl, because
Hmm.
they have nothing, and they're trying to get. Like I said a while ago, they're trying to get some kind of traction, but it's like making a mountain out of a molehill. The old saying. I mean, that's
Hmm.
exactly what they're doing, and they don't even want you to on the left. They don't even want you to call your mom or mother anymore. They want you to say birthing person.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
so are we gonna change it from Mother's Day to Happy Birthing Person's Day? I mean,
Happy
come on.
birthday, person. Yeah, that is.
It's
Yes, that's the world they think. Man, that's wild.
I mean,
That's
when
so
you
wild to
don't
me.
think things can get any nuttier or crazier, you get on social media or just turn on the television and the news, and
I
it's
do.
like every few minutes, it's like
It's
somebody from the
lies.
left is doing or saying. I mean, it's like, think of the worst football game as far as possessions that you've ever seen in your life. The team keeps fumbling the ball, they can't score, quarterback keeps getting sacked. That's the left right now. You know, I mean, they run for 10 yards and then fumble the ball and they go back 20 yards. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just it's and they have no quarterback. I mean, they're like the
No,
Falcons the last couple of years. We really don't have a quarterback. We don't have a quarterback of substance. That's how the left is right now.
correct.
Is it Dollar Tree Obama, Hakeem Jeffries?
Yeah.
Is he the voice? He certainly acts like he wants to be.
He
Is it
acts like he wants
AOC?
to.
I mean,
Yeah.
is it Jasmine Davy Crockett? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. And they're not whoever's running that side, they're not shying these guys away. They're pushing them to the forefront to go shine for us. Do it. That's kind of shows how desperate they are over there. Whatever they can do, throw like a monkey grabbing his own feces and tossing it. That's what I
yeah.
see out of them, man. It's just like whatever we can do to keep the disruption going. Keep don't stop and let them get do what they need to do since they're in power now. Let's keep on causing chaos and ruckus, man. And that's what I see out
Well,
of
they're
them. That's
having
some
to keep
cold.
up with POTUS and the current administration
Yeah,
because President Trump, with his agenda, came out of the gate super strong. Most of his cabinet was certified and allowed to take their cabinet positions in a timely manner, and they've been nonstop with policies, executive orders, um, closing up the border, deporting people, and a lot of the things that they're doing on intergovernmental right now, like talking about getting rid of the Department of Education and putting it back to the states, and a lot of this other stuff. And I think that it's so rapid fire. I mean, the Trump administration is sitting there with like a Gatling gun, and it says
yeah,
that turret's just spinning, and those rounds are flying. And the Democrats are afraid because they're already slipping. And unless they can find something real quick and make an issue and get people really, really to rise up, that they're going to get left behind.
yeah,
I mean, that's what I think it is. That's why, you know, there's all these protests. Because remember this. So in 2020, we're talking about after January 6th, there were some folks on the right still talking about the results, and maybe things aren't what we thought they were, and that lasted a month, 2 months maybe, and the left was like, oh, suck it up, your person
yeah,
lost
yeah,
fair and square. And
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that we weren't burning anything, there weren't any protests. I mean, it was just
None
like,
of
well,
that. No.
because a lot of Republicans are, okay, that wasn't the person I want in that position. But you know what? Out of respect for the office, let's hope for the best. Of course,
Yeah,
we saw 10, 12 months later, that the wheels were coming off,
good.
but I mean, of course, a lot of us question what President Biden said and did on a lot of occasions. Uh, but, we dealt with it because we knew, hey, as an American citizen, I have the right to go and vote to make a change at the highest office in the land. So that's what 77 million people did. And now the left doesn't like it. So we're almost, 70, 80 days into the administration, and it's not calming down. The left is ramping up.
Wrapping up.
So, I mean, what do you think? You got anything to add to that?
Yeah, like you said. So I can remember even the day, like you said, it's been 78, 80 days now, but you still got people acting out, going on social media, still 70, 80 days later, talking about, oh my gosh, this, and that. We should have won this. Uh, you people, talking about the people that voted, for Trump. You know what I mean? You guys let us
Thank you for
down.
saying that, because if I say you people, then people get mad at me.
Yeah, that's okay. I got you, man. But it's videos like that, so it's still making those videos, man. Or if you're, if you're a white woman that voted for Trump, you were this. You black men that voted for Trump. oh, you guys are that, attacking Hispanic men. I can't believe Hispanics did it too. There's people, they're still attacking these people. Uh, thought we had the right to do whatever we want to do, man. Like to vote
Yeah, as an
how we
American
want to.
citizen, I mean, we got a right to vote
America, that's a right
for
that we
who we
have,
want.
right? Um, People are still angry about this stuff, man. And I to go dig even a little bit deeper into this. I got military friends, right? And I'm just gonna say it. A couple of my black male military friends, that are married.
Yeah.
Um, another black female. Let's just call it what it is. This is common sense commentary. We're gonna tell it like it is to your face, right? Um, I've been they a couple of them have secretly voted for Trump, man, and shows face in front of their family. Uh, like they're a Democrat, man. They're living a lie almost, man. I'm sitting here like, man, dude, that sucks, man. That sucks that you have to do that. That's got to take a lot out of you. And I'm just there. It's like, hey, man, it is what it is. I said it
Yeah, I
shouldn't be.
mean,
We talking like it shouldn't be that way, though.
Well,
Shouldn't be that way.
and
But you
I
got
have,
a
I
lot
have
of
one.
that going on.
We'll have a couple things to add to that, but one of the things is so how awkward is that? So if you and your spouse and you secretly voted for the opposite person that they voted for, so when you're sitting there and you're watching, your favorite news show or your favorite comedian, is it like, hey, honey, what do you think about what President Trump done today? And it's like, yeah,
Right.
the hell with him. Yeah, and then you got to go to the bathroom and be like,
About that, man.
I'm sorry, President Trump. I'm sorry. I mean, it's yeah, it's just
Wow.
again we use this word a lot lately, but it works. Insanity. I mean, it is. But I've been thinking about this, so I have a question. All right, so let's say I think I know how you're going to answer. We haven't talked about this before, so just be transparent with the audience. So
Okay.
let's say this past election, Donald J. Trump wasn't on the ballot. Okay, let's say that it was an up and comer like Vivek Ramaswamy, uh, or somebody who ran before that a lot of people like, somebody like maybe like Rand Paul or someone. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's say that one of those two Republicans won the election. Okay, let's say that they cleaned up the border. They used a committee to find some waste and some government spending that was wasteful, that was a ripoff to the taxpayers. Um, let's say that they think that each individual state knows best and they know how to take care of their students. So let's allow them to do that. Let's say that this committee also identified some wasteful programs that weren't what they said they were for. They're earmarked for something, but the intended recipient never got that money and you can't find the money. Okay. Let's say that they wanted to audit the IRS and Social Security Administration. And let's say they're like, oh, wow, this person's been dead for 12 years and they're still getting Social Security check. It's still getting cash. Okay. So let's clean this up. Okay. That's fine. So if one of those two people did it and their name was not Donald J. Trump, would we be in the same situation that we are right now nationwide? What do you think?
Mm.
Do you think if someone else would have done what President Trump has done so far, but their name was not Donald J. Trump, do you think they would be facing similar backlash, or do you think it would be different?
No, they wouldn't be. It would no. They wouldn't be facing similar backlash because of the hatred for Trump. I think.
That bingo. That was my
Now
point.
that,
Yep.
yeah, that's what I figured. But and that's yeah, that came
Yep.
natural. No, they wouldn't be facing the same thing. The left would still be saying that the country's misogynistic and didn't want a female president and all this kind of stuff. President of color or whatever. All that stuff is still being said, but the hatred for either Grant Hall or Greg Ramaswamy it wouldn't be on that same level at all. Not even close.
And that's what I'm thinking, and that's what I wanted. That's why I wanted to present it the way I did to you, because you didn't know what I was going to say. Because I really feel that because there is so much hatred, TDS, it's a real thing. Somebody just tried to pass a bill, I think from like Wisconsin or Michigan or somewhere, saying that Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing. But yeah, I mean, I think that people are blinded by the phrase blinded by the hate. I think that's exactly what it is. I think because of whether you agreed or not with his last presidency, and then he stayed in the news cycle. He stayed in the news cycle, whether, it was rallies, but and events before he formally announced. And then obviously during the campaign trail. And I talked to somebody this morning that I hadn't talked to in a while, and I can't name him, but he's a Republican. Okay, he's conservative, and he told me, he said, in the business I'm in, he says I have to be apolitical. And I said, okay. I said, I get it. And I said, well, the thing is, I said, I can speak my mind now. I said, so I'm free. I said, but I said, I understand that because of his clients. And he said, so I kind of have to bite my tongue and just, he says, I've got people calling me. They're talking about, the tariffs and this and that. And he's like, oh, well, maybe it'll work out. Maybe we'll give it a chance. Maybe not. All we can do is wait and see. Yeah, and, we got people just freaking out about this stuff and not even knowing all the information, but because it's Trump or Trump suggested it, or Trump said this is what we're going to do. And I mean, there's still a lot of people that are buying into that he raped that woman, the one that was supposed to get like 80 million, whatever it was, something silly. Now I can tell you, for somebody, and you may remember this too. You remember back in the 80s, Trump was on, like, he'd be on Oprah, and Oprah's all giving him a big hug and talking about how great he was, and he couldn't do any wrong. And then there was Trump the Game, and everybody thought it was just the coolest thing. And then he was in sitcoms, and then this is before The Apprentice even. But everybody thought, Trump's just, he's super
late
cool.
80s, early 90s.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody loved Trump and Omarosa, and I mean,
wasn't he even in Home Alone? Wasn't he in Home Alone? If I'm not mistaken?
I think they're. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I think it was the second one, maybe the second one when he was maybe. I can't.
You're right. Yeah, I think it's
he was on Fresh Prince of Bel Air one time too. And then I mean, he was everywhere. Everybody loved Donald Trump. But then once he identified that there were some issues and that he was throwing his name in, then it was like flipping a switch. When he came down that escalator is when it started. And it's like, everybody was happy when he was a member of the left. But the party changed so drastically from when he was a part of it to what it is, present day, that party that he was involved with is more aligned to modern day Republicans. So that's why he switched, and he's made it clear. But the thing is, the thing I laugh is, okay, at the rallies on the campaign trail last year, Trump says, we're gonna form a committee. Elon's gonna help. We're gonna see what's in the government, see if we can find waste, fraud, and abuse. Okay, doing that. We're gonna grab the people that are here illegally. We want people here, but we want them here legally. We're going to send these people out, but we're going to get the worst ones first. Okay. All right. Doing that. All right. Tariffs, because we've been getting hosed for years with trade. Okay. And he even said it might hurt just a little up front, but for the long-term success of our country and for our citizens to benefit more, it's a pretty much a necessary thing you got to do. Okay. And now that all this stuff is, fast forward, now that he's president again and all this stuff's happening, people are freaking out. They're like, well, what do you mean? Well, where you been, under a rock? Your head in the sand for, a year? He's been saying this the whole time. And now I guess maybe they're just not used to politicians doing what they're saying. I mean, but, he is doing what he said he was going to do for the most part. So you can't fault that. I mean, it's an absolute mental, we talked about this in a previous episode, with school shootings and things like that. And then I saw earlier, I think in California, there was another one of these. Somebody plowed over a bunch of pedestrians at a mall and injured like 9 people. I think I read it this morning, so it could have changed. But, and then we had the thing in New Orleans happen, a while back. And it's just like, and it's not, it's not just isolated to our country. They're having similar things going on in the UK and in Germany. I mean, it's just, this I laugh, but there's some truth to it. Like Elon says, it's the woke mind virus, which is one of my favorite things. Yeah, because people are just so like, I mean, like Tim Walz. Okay. Tim Walz, Kamala's running mate. He's out there beating the bushes. He's trying to, hey, I'm not saying it, but I think he got a little taste of it. And he's like, well, I think I'm better than Kamala. So I'm going to take a page out of the Trump playbook. I'm going to try to stay relevant and in the light. And then I may want to run. Okay. But the thing is, you got this dummy up on stage making jokes about he keeps checking his phone to see how much Tesla drops when his state owns tons of Tesla stock as part of a retirement program.
Wow.
So you don't care about your teachers and law enforcement in your state. You want their long-term, security to be jeopardized because it makes you feel good to look in your phone and see that Tesla stock. Come on.
Man. I mean, no matter who's in the way, it.
I mean, that's what I said. I always laugh when Elon says woke mind virus because it sure looks like it could be a real thing.
It's a real thing. It looks like it can be a real thing with the official diagnosis coming soon. Like I can see it happening in the next 5 years, man. What's wrong with little Timmy? What's wrong with? I don't know what's going on with him. Yeah, he's got the. Here's some medicine for him. He's got that.
Yeah. Oh gosh, there's so many. We could joke about that for 20 minutes. There's so much I could do with that. But yeah, I mean it is, and as far as we joke about the woke mind virus. Elon says a lot, but I think it's more of, we had touched on this again before, but something somewhere in the last 15, 25 years has changed. And I think we have more of a mental health crisis in our country. I mean, you can turn on whatever news network. I mean, you can see it. Because there's stuff going on now by far that we wouldn't have done 20, 25 years ago. Most of the population would have been like, what are you on? The police would come sack you up and put you in a padded room,
padded room. Yep.
But now it's we have a whole generation of people now that think it's acceptable, and I think you got the boomers and the old hippies. Okay, I know some of them are good people, but you got those people, and these were the same people that were protesting as teens and young college students at like UC Berkeley against like the Vietnam War. So I don't know if they're just like reliving their like heyday, before, they kick the bucket and they're like, okay, I don't know what the hell we're protesting, but let's go do it because it's so fun. Guys, it's not the same. You're not sitting around smoking hashish, and, letting your hair grow out. You got no hair now. You got no teeth. It ain't the same thing, so it's crazy. But speaking on mental health, so we had a guest lineup for today. I mentioned it at the top of the show. Had some technical issues, and I'm not going to steal his thunder in case we're able to have him on for a future episode. But he's written a book. It's on Amazon, A Date with Suicide. And I spoke with him, just kind of an introductory call 4 or 5 days ago. And, I'm thinking, hey, this is good. We're going to talk about, the date for the show, when you're going to come on. And it ended up being like an hour and 36-minute conversation with a complete stranger. And I can tell you, Doug had a lot of mind-blowing data, and I'll share a little bit. But he was giving me statistics, and I'm the one that brought up. I said, "Hey, Doug," I said, "how much of these issues with veterans wanting to take their own life and ones that have had to take?" I said, "Is it because we're not providing adequate mental health care?" And he says, we're not providing any. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he says, well, there's a myth that you think that when you're in the service that you have all this stuff. And he's like, you don't have that unless you go to the VA. And he says, you can get hooked up with it. And then I know you and I had talked about it. And even then you have to be careful of what you say, because some stuff they can diagnose you for and you can get help. Some stuff they turn a blind eye and they don't want to help you. So it's almost like you have to lie about what's going on with you to get any kind of help. And that's counterproductive, because I don't see how lying about something that you're going through, seriously going through, how lying helps you. I mean, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, man. It's a shame. They make it very difficult a lot of the time for that kind of stuff. Um, just to touch on it a little bit, something like PTSD is very, 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 very important, man, to be able to open up and to talk to somebody about that. And if I know from buddies of mine, if you don't check the boxes of some of those things, getting, they'll be like, yeah, PTSD is a no, man. No, it's not PTSD. And you know what I mean? So it's like, so where people are kind of saying like, hey, even if you have that PTSD, you might want to look into a different mental health instead, because it's hard to get. That's got to change. That
Yeah,
part's got to change. It shouldn't be a thing like that, man, because that's nothing
right.
to play with. That's nothing to play with. That's absolutely some horrendous things that some of these guys have has been through. I've had friends of mine that with PTSD itself, um, that were thankfully diagnosed with it and they're getting the help they deserve. But yeah, that's going to be something to talk about, man. Something once we start really diving into that stuff, it's a lot to it's a big, huge issue to
Well,
get into.
and he asked me, he posed it as a question, and he said, how, what do you think is the split? He said, as far as, you know, maybe liberal and maybe, conservative, Republican, he said amongst the, mental health professionals that are working with the VA. And I said, I don't know, 50-50, 60-40. And he's like, no, it's 98% liberal and 2% conservative. And
That blew my
that
mind.
to me,
Blew
is
my
it not
mind.
a crazy statistic?
I wasn't expecting that. I was like, wow.
No, I wouldn't either. And the thing is, and he brought up a point, and he said for somebody that's going through something like PTSD or maybe something of that nature, another kind of, mental issue that they're trying to get help with, he says, so how do you think, if you've been serving and you've got this issue and you go into someone's office and they have a pride flag and it's a man that's, trying to pretend he's a girl, and he said there's instances of that happening at the VA. And he says, so how do you feel? And I said, yeah, I said, enough said, I get it. You wouldn't be able to take them seriously. And even if you could look past that, liberals tend to be pretty
Judgment.
judgmental. Yeah. So they're
Yeah.
judging you probably just as much as you're judging them, probably more so. But I mean, it was mind blowing to me. And, another thing, kind of touching on the VA, we were talking about, you know, because there's been so much wrong with the VA that there's, I think, like 2/3 of folks that could go and get some help or get some aid through the VA that don't. And he says everything that the VA is basing their statistics off of is only about 1/3 of people that they know about and they have in their system.
Hmm.
So any kind of statistics about suicide prevention or, so you look, and one of the things he said was, I forget, but you've got X amount of suicides, you know, maybe per month with veterans. And he says, but that's only for 1/3 because that's what they have stats on. So the
That's
other
true.
2/3, he said, isn't it safe to say that it's probably a much greater problem because you've got 2/3 of the folks that aren't accounted for. And I said, you know what? I said, yeah, I said, that's pretty scary. And he says, well, I'll do you one better than that. He said that the DOD, they had a budget and it was crazy. It was like $6.8 billion or something along those lines to help, or it might have been 6.1, but whatever it was a hefty sum, and it was supposed to be allocated for these different programs for mental health with our veterans, and to help, especially with the suicide prevention. And he said that he'd gone on a podcast, and there was a colonel, a general, and he was talking to him, and he was the one that gave him these stats. And he says, "Oh, there's even a commercial. I'll show you." So they aired the commercial on this podcast, and Doug says, "Oh, well, that's a great commercial. How come I've never seen it?" And he's like, "Because it was never put out." And he says, "Well, what do you mean?" He said they spent $100,000 on this commercial, real good commercial, to raise awareness, just pretty much so they could say that they spent money on this program, and who the hell knows where the rest of the money's at? I mean, all the other stuff that we're seeing in government. So, I mean, it sure as hell isn't going to help in our veterans who are thinking about taking their own life. I mean, it's nuts, and there needs to be more awareness about this. I know you're a veteran yourself. You've probably known some folks, conversations. We don't want to dive too much into that, but it is a legitimate issue, and I can't imagine the feeling of being able to serve your country and potentially give your life for your country, and then you come back home and you're treated like garbage. I mean, you get to run around if you don't have the right form at the VA. If and a lot of times you have to wait for an opening. So if somebody's not feeling good, or they have a heart issue, or a medical condition that's coming up, oh, well, I'm sorry, don't have a heart attack yet. We got to wait 2 months before we get you in. I mean, it's terrible. So you were good enough to go fight for us, but we're not good enough to help you when you come back home. I mean, that's garbage to me. And another thing that he told me was, and I told him, I said, listen, I said, and one of his big things was, it was something along the lines of, like, a little over $2 million was taken from the VA to give medical assistance to illegals. Okay, and this is something that anybody can research and look up. The information's out there. I think it was like 2.1 or 2.2 million, but this was taken from the VA funds, okay, and given to people that came here illegally. They haven't even fought for the damn country, all right, so for them to have health care. And it was just, it was mind-blowing to me that happened, and then they didn't use the money. They did a commercial, and then who knows where the rest of the money went. But it's just, it's been mismanaged, like so many other government entities are and agencies right now. And so there definitely needs to be accountability, because there's one thing that I think most people in our country can unite behind, and it's about taking care of our veterans and our active duty members.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what side of the political spectrum that you're on, everybody should appreciate somebody that's willing to go stand up for their country, stand up for me, for, my next door neighbor, or kids and, grandkids. And, one of the other things that he told me was, I asked him, I said, well, we have a homeless issue. But right after he told me about the $2 million, plus dollars from the VA for illegal health care. And I said, that's sad. And I said, because we're giving these people money too, to put them in a motel or take them to whatever blue state, and we're giving them health care and phones and money for motels and feeding them.
Yeah.
And I said, but then we have homeless veterans on the street, in a lot of our metropolitan areas across the United States. There's a lot of homeless veterans. And he says, well, what's really sad about that? And I'm thinking, well, what's more sad than serving your country and then being treated like trash, and you're down on your luck and you can't get help? And the other thing about it is that he told me, he said, if a homeless veteran is in a town, he said they only reach out to a VA, to the VA, if they don't know what to do with them, they have no place for them. He said if they encounter them, he said, if you're homeless and you're out milling around and you're bouncing around, he said nobody is going to intervene or try to help them unless they happen to run across them. And then it's like, oh, well, we have no place for you. We don't have a shelter. So then they reach out to the VA. So this person could have been out and homeless for a year, 6 months, whatever. And just because all of a sudden, oh, well, you can't be wandering around here, I don't have a place for you, then call the VA. That's sad too. I mean, It's, I mean,
yeah,
what are your thoughts on some of this?
yeah, man. It's such a shame. It's such a shame that I mean I even see it all the time, man. Homeless veterans out here, that they have to have all these stepping blocks and obstacles in the way to get some help, man. So where a lot of them are just like, man, I don't even want to deal with it. It's so sad. Like it should be like an open door policy, man. They shouldn't have to worry about it. And I can go back to, I mean, I believe a lot of the people, a lot of the younger guys, um, and this is just from, I don't know about the data of it, but just from what I see, I guess they are, they're going, you know what I mean? I guess they're getting the information out to do, to, you know, because I guess it's, um, the information's getting put out there a little bit better now than maybe 20 years ago.
Oh.
But, I know my dad's generation, or our parents,
Yeah.
um, my dad he's a veteran as well, did 20 years. My father never went to the VA, nothing. He never signed in to the VA, and he thought he was like, huh. I brought it up to him, like he's like, I'm not going there. So I mean, um, I don't know. He could have some things he could, have to work on or whatever. He never got looked at by him. I mean, but in his instant, he chose not to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, 'cause there was a lot of distrust, with the
Yep.
VA, and like we were talking about, man. So I think there's a lot of reasons why that 2/3 number, um, that Doug
Could be like
brought
your
up,
dad. This
it
no
makes
trust. Yeah.
sense. My dad's right
Yeah.
there, part of that, man. And it's like, wow, man. Somewhere down the line, I would hope we get those numbers better, man. Close the gap a little bit to where, man, that shouldn't even be an issue to where, um, oh man, I don't want to go to those guys or don't trust them, or I've heard all kind of things, man. So where,
Well,
especially among people a little bit older than myself. I
well,
really,
and again, I think it's one of the things that Doug had brought up, and it's just like it made sense because just to change just for a second here, uh, uh, America's the American left's favorite person, Elon Musk, recently said that he would be in favor of privatizing USPS, the postal service,
mhm,
because
yeah,
it's just wasting money left and right, and nothing's getting better. It's getting worse, and it's
getting
losing more
worse.
money.
Yeah,
So, Doug brought up the good point, and I thought about it because it would make sense about privatizing the VA,
yeah, very good idea.
just like the DOE is getting abolished and it's getting returned to the state. The Department of Education is still going to be the funding source, and the states are going to get the money. The VA can still be a funding source, but at this point, it just becomes like an office building with a bank account. Okay,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
this state needs this. Okay, let's cut them a check. Let's get them their funds. And I mean, and this was something I brought up. I said, okay, a state like Rhode Island isn't going to need as much assistance for veterans as a state like
right.
Texas or California. Okay,
Yeah,
a state like South Carolina is not going to need as much
right.
assistance as a state maybe like
Understand.
Nebraska or somewhere like that. So,
Correct. Yeah, yeah,
so it makes more sense. And one of the things that he told me was that um, there's a program that I think he said President Trump uh, signed to give veterans a choice. If you didn't want to go to that VA, you could go in like a 40-mile radius to where you lived.
yeah, yeah,
Have you
yeah.
heard about this
Tri,
before?
yeah, TRICARE Select. Yeah, that's a
Okay, all right. So you're kind of familiar
option
with
for
it,
some.
but the problem he tells me is, and I get this because I live in the mountains. Okay, to
Yeah.
give you an example before I go on with this to kind of set the story up here a little bit. So for this week was spring break in North Carolina. So or this past week. So a couple of days we went over to Tennessee, Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, not very far. I think it's from where we live. We go through the parkway a little bit, go over a couple mountains. Miles wise, not bad. Like maybe 47, 48 miles. Okay. But because of the terrain and the 2-lane roads, it's a good 2 hours to get there. So, I
Yeah,
mean, you would think, wow, it should be 45 minutes to an hour.
be
Yeah, if
quick.
you're out on the interstate, yeah, but your twists and turns. And he told me,
Right.
he said, he said there's certain parts of like West Virginia that are very mountainous. And he said, you know, 40 miles for some of these guys to drive, uh, he said is just kind of out of the question because of some of the conditions and the terrain. He said it's kind of hard on some of these guys. And he said,
Yeah,
when you live in areas like that, and he said if even if you are within 40 miles, it could take you an hour and a half to 2.5 hours to get there one way, and then
one way.
half your
Yeah,
day. And where you, but do you try that, or do you wait for the VA to try to get you in? I mean,
yeah.
what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a whole nother, that's a whole different perspective I didn't think about. Not just the 40 miles, but like like Western Carolina, Eastern Tennessee area you were just on that you just
Yeah,
traveled. The hills and mountains of West Virginia. That's a good point. Where
yeah,
where you're
and that's what I
traveling
say.
4 hours in a one day for that, and if you can get in, yeah, that makes
Right.
it almost sound impossible.
Yeah, I'm glad there is, because I'm sure it is convenient for some people, but again, it's like it would be another example of let's privatize the VA, because then you could
Yes.
do away with some of these, or you could make some of these programs more efficient, and give the veterans a choice, and just have the VA pay for it. And I can't remember the name, but he said that there was a nonprofit. He said for veterans, they make money with with other mental health places, but there's this woman that has this company, and if you're a veteran and you have something going on like some kind of mental health disorder, PTSD, you're not using the VA, you can reach out to them. They'll figure out the best fit for you, and it's basically like insurance. They're able to put you where you need to get help. It's covered, and I think the provider kicks like $25 or something. He said to the
Yeah, yeah.
nonprofit, to keep them going. But it's putting people where they need to be to get veterans
Yeah,
help,
a lot
and
quicker.
that would be something else. And I mean, the thing is, I think if you had, like Doug was saying, if you had all these different podcasters and bloggers and social media personalities, and you even bought some television, radio advertisement, uh, I mean, this has got to get out. It's not getting any better. I mean, it's not. And here's my thing. So if you look at folks right now, let's look at our young adults. We all see them when we're out and about, going to the grocery store. Okay, I'm worried about them. Okay, I'll tell you that much. I've got some worries when I see them and see how they interact with people. I'm like, oh my gosh, But let's say that somebody is 14, 15 years old right now. Okay, growing up in this current climate, in this current environment. But then in 3 or 4 years, they decide, well, hey, I want to go serve my country. Okay, so mentally, there's a little bit of discord, I think, and disconnect
Yeah,
from like the last generation or two, obviously, and obviously from our generation. But then you're going to go have those people serve. They're going to go serve, whether it's 4 years or 8 years or 20 years. Then they're going to come back. And I can't help but think of how much more complex whatever's going on mentally is going to be. And are we going to be prepared for that? If we keep going the same way we are, it doesn't sound like any services are going to get any better. Does that make sense to you?
it makes absolute sense. I think you'll get a little bit of with the how can I say it, with the military. I think um, from what I've seen, a lot of the time, the best um, the best people to try to get them in are kind of the family members usually. Like, okay, my dad served, my grandpa
Right.
served.
Like, yeah, like a
So a
legacy.
lot of
Yeah.
the a lot, yeah, there you go, legacy. A lot of the time, you're getting a lot of those guys, and a lot of those guys have the already have those values, I guess, under what they can. So you get a lot of those guys, but like you
Yep.
said as well, you're still gonna get some oddballs where they're just they're the senior in high school one day and they're shooting from the hip and say, hey, I'm about to go to boot camp. You know what I mean? You still get some of those guys that
Yeah.
are in that mindset, and I can see how that could happen as well, man. My last year or two in, it was a big deal. It was man, I was kind of getting tired of it, but they were like there was kids coming in talking about some these are my pronouns and stuff. I was just like, oh my god, I know. I started I started doing like this for my retirement, man. Like, okay, it's time for my time
Well,
my time. It's time for us to go.
well, and that was one of the questions I was
Yeah,
going to ask you was, towards the tail end of your service run,
you can
did
see it,
you
bro.
see a change? And
Oh
lo and
yeah,
behold, yep.
you could.
So,
Yes, bro. It
yeah, you
was
took the
yeah.
wind
My
out of my sails, buddy, on that one. Thank you.
last 2 3 years. From about I retired in 23, so about 2019, 2020. Yeah, you start seeing it, man. It started being like, ooh, okay, this. Yeah, I'm one of the old heads now.
Wow.
It's time to wrap this thing up. So yes, it's absolutely. And a
But
lot of
see
my
that,
buddies that were in like that, they could tell you the same thing. They would be like, hey, bro, if they ain't like us no more, man. It's a lot of this. It's time for us to. We're a little bit too like there were words you couldn't say. We're sailors and we speak, bro. They started
yeah.
cutting the. Hey, man, don't you say that? You can't. You can't. You got it. You want to offend somebody?
So we've gone so woke, you can't even cuss like a sailor anymore.
Bro, it was.
That's it. I
We had
quit.
you
I'm
had
drawing the
to
line.
watch.
I quit.
There was a flag on the field. Yeah,
That's
you had to start watching what you were saying my last couple of years, man. Like there was things you could not say. They jump on you like, hey, we don't say it. We don't say that around here. I'm sitting here like, oh my god, I got called out a couple times, man. like, okay, man.
well. That's yeah. I mean that goes hand in hand what I was saying. I mean, because they're coming in already with being kind of programmed somewhat,
Perfectly said. Perfectly said, man.
and then you know I know there was DEI in the military, and then
Yeah,
the whole trans. And again, nothing wrong with trans. That's your lifestyle. I'm good with it. Just don't force it on me. Don't come parade around my house. I'm good with it. That's you. I mean, you may not like straight people. I'm straight, but I'm not forcing my straightness on you. But the thing is,
likewise.
it's just
Yeah,
when we in a situation that's already uncomfortable, if you're going to allow a trans person, to bunk with the group that they're whatever they're identifying, boy, girl, whatever. So it's already a delicate situation anyway, because there's already a certain amount of anxiety and tension, I would imagine, especially if you're going to, like somewhere in the Middle East, or Afghanistan or Iraq or somewhere, that we've been to rather recently. And so you're worried about whether the big old spiders they got over there, you're hanging out, whatever they are, the sand spiders, or they call them camel spiders or whatever. The things are huge, like size of like a Volvo. And so you're worried about a spider creeping up on you, but then the person bunking behind you is confused about whether they're guy, girl, whatever's going on with them.
right.
Maybe they're not confused. Maybe they're just, hey, you know, was mixed up at birth and I'm supposed to be, a man, whatever.
Yeah,
So you got the spiders, you got the people with the bombs and stuff, the bad guys, and then you got. I mean, it's like, and you're already in a tent, so you might as well have a clown out front. It's going to be a circus. I mean, it's like a circus atmosphere. I mean,
yeah, man. Yeah, yes, yes. Unfortunately, I guess it's kind of switching up now since everything's kind of changing up. But yeah, it was. That's what you were seeing, man. It was a lot of, and they. I think I had mentioned to you before. The military was paying for the change. Uh,
yeah, that's
yeah,
right. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I've seen it. I've seen it up close, man.
but
Yeah.
but shouldn't that
Wow.
be? No, and I hate to cut you off on this, but just what you said, the military is paying for this. Okay, so I want the audience to understand. So Earl, I'm going to pick on you for a second here. All right. So let's say you're not married, you're still in the service. You decide, you know what? I'm tired of using the bathroom standing up. I'm going to get the snip and tuck, and I want to be a woman. I've been eyeing a dress every time I go to the mall. I'm going to put on that dress, and I'm going to put on some lipstick, and I'm going to call myself a woman. Okay, power to you. All right. So you're telling me that if this would have been reality and you would have decided to do that, the military would have paid for it.
That's what I'm telling you. That is,
My tax
I'm gonna
dollars
give you.
would pay for you because you have. It's
I'm gonna tell you a quick story. Give you an example. I like it. Um, I was stationed in Hawaii, 2018 to 2021. One of my sailors that worked for me, her husband used to come by every day. Big swole dude, working he's in the gym on time. Good guy too, man. I said, hey, what's up, bro? How you doing? You know, and and his wife worked for me. She was great too. They were awesome people. I love them. But a couple years ago, I don't know if I told you this story, but I got somebody that sent me a friend's request on Facebook, right? And I seen his face, but female looking person though. It's in here like, I was looking at it. I'm like, for about 2 days, I'm like, why is so and so sister? Why, sister hitting me up, man? What? This is
I
what
know
I
what you're
really
thinking.
thought.
Yeah.
You got me now, right? This is what I really thought. And then I clicked and I'm like, that's him. That's him. What? I was just surprised. He just, love that family to death. They had a kid together and everything, but he switched
Yeah.
over that 3 years. I was like, oh man, I just didn't, it caught me off guard. You feel what I'm saying? But yeah,
Yeah.
so I was like, whoa, if that could happen, and you would never thought this is the last person, like
Wow.
Jim Buff, like, hey man,
Wow.
I said, whoa, yeah. So yes, that's what I mean by I seen it up close,
I
and
mean,
it
I
happened, bro.
think, yeah, I mean, I think, you know what? I think if that's your choice, you should have the choice because it is America. I think if that's what you want to do, you should do it.
That's
But
cool,
I don't think
but
we should pay for it.
we're paying for it though, right? Correct. Yeah, that's the only gripe I got on it. Yeah, that's the only gripe I got.
Yeah, I mean, because I wake up and decide, I want to, be a member, become a member of the opposite sex. I'm not going to expect you to pay for it because it's a decision that
Right.
I make.
It's a decision I'll make it. Correct.
Yeah,
It's
it's
good,
yeah,
man. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
more insanity. But I mean, you have this stuff going on though,
Yeah.
in our current in our current world, and then it's leaked over and to into our armed forces, for several years now, and that's why I think this mental health is crisis is going to be it's going to be a lot worse because it's not getting better. I mean,
Yeah.
let's leave it at that. The VA, somebody should say, you know what, let's privatize it. Probably
Absolutely.
probably a good idea because it ain't working. I mean, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different
Same
result.
thing over.
Guys, it ain't working.
Definition.
I mean, it ain't. I mean, there's a reason MJ called it quits with that last season of the Wizards. It wasn't working no more. That jumper just wasn't there. That fadeaway jumper, it was gone. It was gone. It wasn't there no more. All right. So it ain't working. Hang it up. Uh, I guess we've covered a pretty good bit today, kind of a lengthy episode, but I felt like we're able to share. I was glad to share some of the stats with that I got from Doug, because some stuff I didn't know about the VA and as far as the mental health aspect and some of the percentages and numbers, which are staggering, and just dissecting some of the other stuff that we normally do. So just like the Beverly Hillbillies, time to say goodbye to Jed and Oz Ken. We'd like to thank you folks for kindly dropping in. Come back next week for have a heaping helping of our common sense commentary. So what we're going to leave with, guys, is the same thing that we've talked about the last few times. Is Earl's seen it, I've seen it, we've discussed it. A lot of you guys probably watching have seen it too. just the pure hatred for your fellow man on social media or in the grocery store or because of the car they drive. Come on, guys. Tesla's made in America, 100%. A lot of people, including people that are probably your neighbors or people that probably work in a factory where you do or work at the bank where you do, probably have some sort of investment, hoping to pay out long term for retirement with Tesla. We talked about Tim Waltz, the state union there has a lot of Tesla stock, okay, for retirement. Don't go carving up Nazi insignias, swastikas on people's cars, because here's the dumbest thing about it. All right, you don't know the person driving the car. They might be as wacky and loony as you are, Mr. Lefty. They might just be as batshit crazy as some of you people. All right, so how do you feel if somebody goes and keys your Prius? I mean, so stop. You don't know who the person is. That could be somebody who's, just lost a loved one in the service, and they bought them a car because they thought they were doing the right thing. And then you, dummy, are going to go and break out a window with a brick and spray paint it. Stop it, people. Come on. Were you raised that way? Did you go and trash people's tricycles back in your neighborhood back in the day? Did you go spray paint somebody's sandbox? No. Stop it. In this country, you have a mouth and you have two ears. And I think most people in the world do. But this is what you got. Listen. Communicate. Talk with one another. Treat somebody with respect and dignity, because you know what? You don't know who they are or what they've been through. They could be just like you. They could be completely different as you. But what does it matter? What do you gain for destroying somebody's property? Okay? They may have worked for years because that was their dream automobile, and you've destroyed it. Just like that. Yeah, they have insurance, but that's not fair. Just because somebody has insurance and they're like, oh, well, they got insurance, so get it. That's not fair. It's essentially you're causing damage on purpose, and that person's got to make a claim, but you're scamming the insurance company. Guess what, genius? This keeps happening. Insurance premiums are going to go up. You guys are complaining about the price of eggs and groceries and all this other stuff right now that, by the way, is coming down. Guess what? Let's not compound the problem here and cause premiums to go up. It's absolutely, it's nuts, because you got the insurance has got to pay out on the damage to these vehicles. It's got to pay out on the damage to these charging stations. It's got to pay out on the damage to the inventory and to the actual structure, the dealership. Okay, that's all insurance, guys. You don't know what the hell you're doing. You don't know half of what you're protesting about. Stop the insanity. Okay, that's it. Act like an adult, and if you can't take your ball and go home, don't destroy somebody else's property, your neighbor's property. It makes no sense. Does it make you feel like a better person for doing it? If it does, then you definitely have mental health issues. Don't go to the VA. We've already learned you're not getting the best care there. So, guys, by calling somebody a dumbass or a cult follower, what the hell does that do? That has nothing to do with the substance of the issue that you have, or that the opposite person, that you think that they have. And by calling somebody names and being hateful, destroying property, wishing they were assassinated, is that going to solve anything? No, it's not going to solve anything. All right. What you have to understand is a lot of people on the right have been waiting for change. They voted, change is coming in, and you might not like it. But a lot of people on the right, the majority of them, weren't going around and protesting and burning up stuff and blocking highways and plowing over pedestrians and all this nonsense that's going on. And if we were to, we would be able to tell reporters what the issues were. We would know, because we're passionate. We're leaders. We're not followers. We're not sheep. I mean, it's like with the whole COVID shot and the booster after booster after booster. I never got it. Okay. I never got the shot. I never got the booster. It was my choice, because I wasn't going to take a vaccine that I didn't think had been through enough tests. Okay. I understand Pfizer and some of these companies, they're huge companies. Okay. But I'm not going to inject something into my body that I don't know. Hey, I'll drink a beer. I know what beer do to me. It'll make me fat and want to eat some cold chicken out of the fridge. I get it. I know what beer does. Okay, that's fine. It's not the most healthy thing, we find out. That's fine. I still enjoy it, but I'm not going to go take a jab and not know what the hell it is because somebody said, well, we fast tracked it for 2 or 3 months. It's good. And then you got Fauci saying, oh, no, you just get the shot and you're good. Oh, no, you got to have a booster. Oh, well, we recommend another booster. Guess what? They're still recommending the boosters. And now they're saying children 6 months old should get it. That's insane. So again, here in closing, if you want to get the shot, if you got it, that's fine. But most people I talk to that got it of the boosters have gotten COVID multiple times, have been sick, don't feel good, are having some kind of lingering side effects, whether it's appetite, or I've had people tell me I get headaches more frequently now. I get more, my stomach gets upset more easily now. So coincidence? Don't know. Not a doctor. I watched Doogie Howser back in the day. It doesn't qualify me to be a doctor. But I'm just saying, guys, if you don't agree with someone, there's no need to go hit them in the head on social media with a literal club and call them names. Just say, what gives you that idea? Where did you get that information from? Hey, I could be wrong. I could be wrong about something I say on this show. Earl could be wrong about something he says on this show. But you know what? I'll come on and tell you, gee whiz, golly, I was wrong. I'm happy to admit that I was wrong. I'm happy to if I was lesser educated on something, I'm happy if I can find something or somebody shares something and says, here, this might help you articulate your point better, or your point was wrong, but you were close. You almost hit the mark, but here it is, like Paul Harvey. Here's the rest of the story. And I'll be the first one to say, golly, hey, I was wrong. I'm an adult. I can admit it. But I'm not going to call you a name. I'm not going to say anything out of line. But the message is be nice, treat each other like we grew up as kids. Treat someone like you want to be treated. Do you want to be MF'd and people call you names and destroy your property? If you do, keep acting the way you are. If you don't, be kinder, be gentler. Earl, you got anything in close, buddy?
You knocked it out the park right there. Treat people as you want to be treated, man.
That's it.
Well, you're right.
Guys,
I was going to say, I didn't tell you this. I got a Prius, so you got me, dog. I'm going to get you for that one.
Well,
I don't have nothing else, though. No. Good stuff, though.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed Earl since he's got a Prius. This is his last show. I don't know what he was thinking with that. It's, maybe he is getting that sex change because you just lost your manhood. Get a Prius, get a hybrid. Congratulations. All right. So next time it'll be Mrs. Tucker. All right. So guys, as always, thank you for having us in your home or on your device. We hope you enjoy this. We enjoy doing it. If you've got something to say and you want to get on and interact, reach out to Earl Tucker, Eric Bryant on X, also on Facebook. Shoot us a message. Happy to interact, exchange, information, and happy, if you've got something or issue, that you want to raise awareness about or something that's near and dear to your heart, let us know. We'd love to have some more guests. So guys, be good, be kind, be gentle. We'll see you next time.